ألا من كنت مولاه فهذا علي مولاه، اللهم وال من والاه وعاد من عاداه.
Alaikum Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
First of all, I want to thank you for coming over to the studio to do a very casual podcast. But why don't we just go ahead and get started with a brief introduction? I wanted to introduce you, but why don't we just go ahead and have you introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Sheikh Mتين Charbonneau. I'm from Virginia. I live in Virginia, D.C. area. I'm out here visiting the West Coast. It's very nice. I like it here. Thank you for having me. You can ask me whatever you want, and I'll be able to tell you, inshallah.
Oh yeah, for
sure. So what do you want to know about me, and I can tell you, inshallah.
Yeah, for sure. I have a lot of questions here, so there's no shortage of questions. But I really want to take us to the very beginning and talk about where you grew up and how you ended up in the prison, because this whole podcast is about the prison system in the U.S. and how we can help them out. But before we do that, we'll just kind of step back and talk about how you grew up and where you grew up, how you grew up, and how you ended up in the prison.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Well, I didn't always look like this, I have a mama and abba and all. So I grew up in South Carolina, a city called Sumter, like a small city, but it was very violent, gang infested, a lot of poverty. And in 1998, it was number 8 in the whole country for the murder rate. And we only had maybe 150,000 population, or maybe 100,000. So it was very dangerous. I grew up in apartment complex, people call, projects or government housing or whatnot. But they put all of those on one side of town, basically. So I think maybe we had about 9 or 10 different projects, like on one side of town. So a lot was going on. They didn't get along with each other. There was a lot of stuff happening.
A lot of gangs.
Yeah, a lot of gangs. Yeah. They had to bring special gang task force, like federal task force for the gangs. Yeah, so there's a lot of gangs. So, for example, pizza delivery is something, we get at our house.
Right.
And we think, everyone can get their pizza delivered. But where I grew up, the pizza delivery didn't come because the apartments next door to ours killed the pizza man and threw him in the dumpster. So no pizzas will come and deliver where we live. So I grew up, and seeing a lot of stuff and hearing about a lot of stuff. I mean, when most kids were playing with toys, dinosaurs, or, video games or things like this, we had guns, playing with guns, knives and stuff at age 12, 13.
Not the best environment
14.
To be living in.
Yeah, and most of the people there, grew up without their parents or either with one parent. So that was my case as well. I grew up with my mother. My father lived in another city a few hours away. So at that point, he wasn't around much, so I was just with my mother. And when you're growing up, when you get around that age, 11, 12, 13, if you don't have the father figure in your life, I'm an only child too. So I didn't have any brothers or sisters, that would pull me under their wing. So I started looking at the people who were a little older than me going outside. But all of them were in gangs.
Right.
The older people would be, maybe they were in their late teens or early 20s. They played basketball on the court because our apartment complex was the only one out of all of those 9 or 10 that had a basketball court. So all of those would come, wherever we are, and they would play basketball. But all the different projects coming together makes, a lot of problems because these people are fighting and doing stuff. But from that age, they would have us hold their stuff. They're like, oh, here, 12 years old, you're not playing, just hold my gun for me or watch my drugs over here. And, we saw people getting stabbed and shootings. So that stuff was kind of normal for that area. So later on, in life, you're seeking guidance. You don't have the guidance there with you. So you start going to the bad people. So instead of teaching you good things, they're teaching you, how to rob, how to sell drugs, how to, load a gun, what to do, how to fight, all these things. So you're learning like a lot of bad things from people. So I ended up getting in gang when I was 12 years old. So
when you were 12 years old?
12 years old. So I started living gang life, and I was never home.
SubhanAllah.
I was in and out of juvenile detention centers, boys' homes. I spent age 13 in a boys' home, 14 birthday in the juvenile detention center. Age 15, I was on probation. Age 16 to 25, maximum security prison. So from teenage year all the way up, I was in and out when I was younger, and then I finally got a longer stretch, but that's what that's the type of things people are dealing with. And when you don't have, guidance or Islam, we're lucky we have Islam to show us the way. We have Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi and Imams alayhi salam. So we have some guidance to show us. But at that point, I didn't have that. So I was looking for guidance, found the wrong guidance,
Right. So let's kind of like go to the point where, because you mentioned you went to the juvenile a few times, right? So, but I'm assuming there's like one period where you had to stay in juvenile for a very long time, and I'm kind of curious how you, from the point at which you ended up in that long period of time in juvenile until you converted to Islam, and what was that like? If you can talk about that.
Well, in the juvenile, I was just in and out. I was just trying. I never was home. So I always was living out with people from place to place, and I was just, living my life. It wasn't really a good life, but at that time, what people call the good life. They're out there, doing drugs, partying, going from one party to the next party to the next party. But, eventually there comes a time in people's life when they realize, what am I doing? What is my purpose? Like, I can't keep living like this and stuff like that. Right. And that came for me a little bit later. I always thought my friends would be there for me, and I put my friends before my family.
Right. And
then later in life, sometimes you realize that they're not there for you like you think they are.
How old were you when you started having these feelings of like, what is the purpose of life?
Maybe I was about 16. I started thinking about, I had a good friend of mine that was on drugs really bad, but eventually he cleaned himself up and left all that alone, and he didn't drink or smoke or do drugs or anything. I was like, wow, I congratulated him. A lot of people were talking bad about him. But I went to visit him, and I was like, wow, I'm really impressed, like you did all of this and you left everything. And I wish I could leave this gang life because it's very dangerous. And everywhere you go, you either have someone trying to kill you, they're shooting at you, or trying to beat you up. It's like there's no escape from it. So you always feel you're looking over your shoulder, or you can't go anywhere. And if you go somewhere, you have to anticipate and think who is going to be there.
And what decade was this? The 90s?
Late 90s.
The late 90s.
Yeah,
okay.
Late 90s. So I congratulated that guy. I just told him, but I was too far deep into it that I really couldn't get out of it. So eventually, I was walking down the street one night after like a high school football game, and a whole group of people, like cars, they came down this back road. And it was like tons of, at least like 25, 30 truckloads of people. I don't know, in the South, we call them rednecks, guys that drive the big trucks and, not cowboy hat, but like camouflage hat and,
like that, hillbilly or whatever.
Yeah, these type of, what I'm talking about.
Right.
Yeah. So these guys all caught me, and they had been drinking, and they jumped out with baseball bats and bottles and all these things and threatened my life. So I had a gun on me because we always had to, you never know what's going to happen. So I pulled the gun and warned them, and they started coming. So I shot one time between two of them. So
this is when you were 17, right?
16.
16, okay.
So the bullet goes between them, right past their head, and they look at each other. I'm like, okay, maybe they're going to leave now because I shot, and they would feel threatened. But they looked, and one looked at the other. Okay, no one's hit. He didn't shoot again. Let's go. And they have the baseball bat. So at that point, I had to defend myself.
They didn't have a gun themselves?
No, they didn't have guns. See. These guys, they ride all over the town, and they catch people who are walking, and they beat them almost to death. That's fun. This is what they did in my hometown.
So they weren't even looking for money or anything like that?
No, they just beat you to death almost and then leave. And then they get a kick out of it, and that's what they do. They prey on like people who are alone. Doesn't matter who they are. They throw stuff at you while they're driving.
That's something that you would see in a movie.
Yeah,
I wouldn't imagine this being real life.
It was crazy. And a lot of people, that crowd didn't like me too much because I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood. And I didn't fit in with the rednecks. So I wasn't a redneck. So, and I hung out with a lot of black guys, and I was in places where they couldn't go. And even some places, police, they don't go there. But I was able to go in there and hang out, and I knew people there, and they felt, okay, this guy, maybe I was popular and stuff, so they thought if they heard me, maybe they would be popular because they heard me, for example. So I ended up shooting one of the guys in the chest, like in
how old were those guys? Were they like in their 20s or something?
The guy who I shot was around 20. I was 16, and the rest were from like 16 to 21 or somewhere in that age range. So once one of them got shot, all of them, they ran, they dispersed, they got out of there.
Wow.
So after that, I ended up having to go to court, and, I was waiting in this county jail.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I felt relieved, because most people, they feel anxious when they go to prison. But I was like, I wasn't in prison yet, I was in county jail. And I felt relieved, because I was like, finally, I can get a break. And that's not what normally people think when they go to jail. But life was so hectic for me that I was like, I can come and just sit, and like no one's bothering me, and I can just think about.
And you have experience in the prison anyways, right?
Yeah, so I was like, I could just relax and just get my mind right. And I started thinking while I was in there, because you're in this tiny room, with like two other people. It's just, you all can't even stand on the floor at the same time. So and there's no window. It's like skylights. I mean, you're just in there 24 hours every day. Or sometimes they let you out, maybe an hour. But I started thinking, I said, I can't live my life like this. And, I need to change. I need to get myself together. But I don't know how to do it. But if I keep living like this, someone's going to kill me, or either I'm going to kill somebody, or either, something bad's going to happen, or I'm going to go to jail for like a long time. So I said, maybe I go to prison this time. Maybe I don't. I don't know. Maybe I go for a little while. Maybe I beat the charge because it's self-defense. Who knows? But I know whatever's going to happen, I need to get it together, because I don't want to keep going that way. So I started looking into religion. I was always believing in God, but my family's Christian, but I didn't go to church really. Maybe when I was a very small kid, I went, but like as far as saying, oh, I'm a Christian or something like this, no, I was into other stuff, but I believed in God.
So you weren't like religious, but you believed in divinity.
I came from a religious family, but I believed in God, but I didn't know how I believed in God. Like, I don't know, I just believed in a creator. But like the description of how he was or what he was or all of this type of stuff, like belief system, no, I didn't have. So I read the Bible from front to back. Well, I had a lot of time to sit there, so I read it, and it started making sense for a while. And then you read something, you're like, wait a minute, I read back there and a couple other chapters back that said something else. I would flip forward, look at it, flip back, look at it. I was like, this is two different things, So I started having questions. I would write them down, and I would ask people, and the Christians would say, you just have to believe, that don't ask questions, just have faith. And I was like, God gave us a mind to use on our own, that we have to ask questions, and something needs to make sense. How am I going to follow something if it doesn't make sense? Right. So they told me, forget about it. God will explain it to you later. So I was like, okay, so why does God give me, a mind to think about and make decisions if I just pick the irrational, illogical one? So I said, this doesn't make sense. So I just kind of put that on hold. And then I didn't know anything about Islam. This is like 1999 at this time. Didn't know anything about Islam. So I saw a guy praying, in another unit.
So when all of this thing, like the studies and everything that you're talking about, did this take place in the library within the prison, or? No,
this was in county jail. I was just in my room. I had a Bible.
Oh, so you had a Bible in your room?
Yeah.
I see.
So I came out for the recreation or whatever that day, and I saw my friend was in the next pod over, so I would talk to him through the window out of the door, and we would talk. And I saw the guy, and he's praying salat. I was like, man, what's that guy doing? I never saw that before. So this guy's making salat. I didn't know. And I asked, I said, oh, he's a Muslim. I was like, Muslim, what's that? And they said, oh, they believe in God and Prophet Muhammad and, some other prophets. And I was like, oh, really interesting. They said, yeah, they have a book. It's Quran. So the guy came and showed me the Quran through the door on the other side. But I couldn't get to it. I couldn't read it. But now I know there's something, called the Quran, and there's something called Muslims. So later on, I ended up going to court. The judge said, we know it's self-defense. Yes, they were trying to kill you, but you were under 21. You shouldn't have had a gun. 10 years, bam. That's
Just
it.
for possessing a gun?
Yeah, because they said I shouldn't have had the gun in the first place. And I said, well, if I didn't have the gun, I would have been dead. I wouldn't be here right now. They said, yeah, we know that, but you had the gun. It's 10 years, bang. And
wow,
there you go.
So they put you there in 10 years.
Yeah, so they sent me off to this holding facility where they process you. They take your blood, and back then they take your blood and check you for like HIV, and then they would run tests, and then they would look at your crime and try to find space and where they were going to sort you. It's like a holding place. Everyone goes. So I went there, and someone they could bring books to your room. So I asked, can I hold Quran? The guy got really nervous. He's like, I don't know, man. I don't think I can let you hold this Quran because the Muslims might, take offense because we have to. I know that they wash their hand, they do something before they read Quran, and you're not a Muslim. Like, what did they find out? I said, man, I'm not going to tell anybody. Just let me hold it for a little bit, And the guy gave it to me, and he said, I'm going to be back in 2 hours. Better have that Quran ready and don't do anything, make sure it's in good shape. So I looked up all the verses about Jesus, in the index. I was reading. I said, this is really interesting.
Was it a English only Quran, or
no, English Arabic?
English Arabic, so side by side.
The old Quran, the blue, the old blue one from Saudi Arabia. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So I was reading it. I liked it. Then they moved me to another place, and this place was so hot. It was South Carolina in like July, 120 degrees, no air conditioning.
Wow.
The inside of the building was so hot you would see the wavy lines move on the concrete in the hallway. So they would joke and be like, Shaitan's walking down the hallway. It's so hot. God. So it's unbearable. So they put a guy in the room with me, African-American guy, and he went to the sink. He's like, started washing his face. Started washing his arms, I was like, man, this guy must be really hot. He's trying to cool off. He can't handle it. And then he stands in the middle of the floor and he's like, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. I was like, whoa, man. I was not expecting this from I grew up black people my whole life. I never seen anybody do this. It's really strange. So trying to comprehend what's going on. And I didn't say anything. I just sat there and I was like mesmerized. Like, what is he doing? This is like so odd. And then he stood. He didn't say anything to me. He just stood. And I mean, we're in a room. He's calling adhan like really loud, like the whole dorm, for everyone to let them know it's prayer time. So he stood, is Allahu Akbar, and he starts to pray. Then I said, oh.
I saw other people pray?
No, it was just him because we're in the room together.
Okay.
I said, I remember I saw the other guy pray before. He's a Muslim. So afterwards, I asked him like 1 million questions that I had for all the Christians that they told me don't ask. He answered all of them. I was just like, wow.
Do you remember some of the questions that you asked him?
At this time, I don't remember, but it was a lot of questions about the personality of Jesus and, Trinity and all of these things, right? So I had a lot of those type of questions and the contradictions I saw in Bible and stuff. So he answered all of them, and I was like, I want to be a Muslim. I was 17 at that time. So
how long did the process take? Like a month, 2 days? A week.
When he answered all those questions, I was like, I'm good.
In the same spot?
Yeah, I was like, this is it.
Wow.
And he started telling me about the prophet and like science and how they didn't know much things back then. And in the time they were in the desert.
Right,
and like how Quran explains all of these scientific things. And I was like, there's no way he could have known this without divine inspiration. So I was like, he's definitely a prophet. And I accepted it. Because after he answered the question about Jesus, I said, okay, I'm sold on this, but I need to know about Prophet Muhammad because I don't know anything about him.
Right.
So he told me, and then I really wanted to do that. So he said, instead of giving you shahadatain, I want you to learn your salat, because when you say shahadatain, you need to, salat becomes wajib on you.
Right.
So he started teaching me Fatiha. So I learned my Fatiha. Before I could finish the salat, they moved me, sent me to another prison, the place I was supposed to go.
Before we continue this discussion, I want to know, like, was there anything that you remember that he told you that really like completely changed you, your entire perception? Like Like, was there anything that really hit you in the heart that he talked about, or was it like series of different talking points that eventually hit you?
I was so amazed that this guy was able to answer every question I had rationally, and I said he has knowledge from somewhere, and this Islam taught him these things that answered all the questions I had about life. So I said Islam would be able to answer the questions that I have. So I know the knowledge is there, and the truth, everything, he was able to answer it easily. So I said, this will be able to give me, guidance. And he showed me about, I told you, Prophet with scientific things. And I was very convinced from that. Because no one else could answer me. Even the people who claimed they were a priest or, all of these things, preachers that, they just told me, no, don't worry about it. Even today, when I explain religious concepts and stuff to my family, sometimes they'll say, that makes perfect sense, but I'm a Christian. We don't believe that. So I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, what do I do with that? Like,
so you're able to satisfy all your questions?
Yeah.
Interesting. So then you, at one point, you did your shahada in the prison?
Well, when I went to the prison, I met a guy. I looked for all the people from your hometown, because you're from all different cities in the state. They put you all in one place, there's different prisons, but it's melting from all different cities. And so I looked for someone from my town. And one person that was there in my dorm happened to be a Muslim too. And
from your town?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I got with him. I told him, hey, I learned the, Fatiha. I said, I want you to help me and teach me the rest of the Salah and, teach me how to live as a Muslim, as I'm 17 years old, I'm trying to live and learn how to be a man at that point. You're still a teenager. You're trying to figure out how to be a man. And alhamdulillah, I grew up with the Muslims and Muslim community. We were in there, but he gave me my shahada and helped me a lot. And the older brothers took me under their wing and would guide me and show me, okay, this is how we act as Muslims. This is how we don't act. You need to do this or that. And kind of like father figures or uncles, they would stay on you as you getting out of line. They're like, hey, don't do that. We don't do that. We're Muslims. We're better than that. Or, whatever. They would all guide each other. So it was a really good community, and we prayed together, we ate together, we, spent time together, and we were like real brothers. We helped each other out. It was really unified. We prayed all 5 prayers together every day. And that prison I was at happened to have a lot of converts to Shiism. Surprisingly, that place had 120 Muslims, let's say. 100 of them were Shia, like African-American Shia, who converted from books. So
it was mostly, I remember we had this conversation before and you told me it was mostly like whites and blacks, but there weren't like people from, there weren't any Arabs or Persians or anything like that?
No. I met one Arab guy before. Yeah.
In the prison?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Later down the line, yeah.
Interesting. So then at some point, okay, you took your shahada, you became a Muslim, and then all of a sudden you have this community of Muslims in the prison.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to know what took you from that to becoming a sheikh. Because it's one thing if you become religious and everything, and it's another thing where all of a sudden you're a sheikh now. How did that process look like? So
I used to ask a lot of questions to the, I guess we call him Imam Jamar, he was an inmate too. They elect themselves, the community comes together and someone becomes leader of the other ones. They do Jummah and lead Salat and guide the community, the whole prison yard. So he was a Shia. And these people came to me and were telling me, pick side, are you Sunni, are you Shia, are you this, or you that? And I was like, I don't know really, what's going on with that. I just know about Islam. Right. And they said, just say you're this and, don't get involved with the other guys. But I was curious. I want to make like a rational decision which one. So I went to the Imam Jamal and I said, they told me don't listen to you and don't talk to you and don't come around you because you're Shia. But I don't know. I want to know what the Shia is, So he said, you know what? I'm not going to even tell you. They told me don't talk to me. So I'm just going to give you some books that you read on your own. Then I was guided by
Tijani,
Muhammad Tijani. So this is one of the first books I read. He said, read this and come back and talk to me.
It was one of the first
Islamic books. Yeah, outside of Quran.
Outside of Quran.
Yeah. So I read this book and it showed me a lot. And I said, wow, I want to read more. And he said, don't ask the brothers, read the books and then ask the questions.
I see.
And every time I would go and ask a brother, I would say, what's this? How do we do this? What's the ruling for this? He said, they would hand me a book and they said, read this book. And then ask me a question after. And I was like, wow, you could just tell me. You already know. And they said, no, if I tell you, you're going to say, brother, so-and-so told you, if someone asks you. But if you read it yourself, you're going to say, I saw it in a book myself by this author, and I read the book, not some other inmate or other Muslim brother told me this, that. So and he said, if I want to learn, I have to read. I'm young. I didn't want to read, but I started down that path. I started loving reading. So I started reading all the time. So how I ended up becoming sheikh is I loved reading in that time. So I read a lot of books, maybe 150, 200 books during that 10 years I was there.
Yeah.
I got a lot of books from Koei Foundation, New York, and other institutions. There was a Bilal Muslim mission back then. I don't know if they're still around. It was in New York.
Okay.
And we would write them and they would send us books. And we could also purchase books. So I would just get book after book, and then other people had books, and we would just, pass them around and read them. And the prison I was at, they don't pay you to work. So you have the choice of going to work, or you have the choice of saying, I don't want to work, and I didn't want to work for free. So they said, okay, we're going to punish you for not working. But the type of sentence I had, it didn't matter what I did. If I was a model inmate or I was running around fighting and stabbing people and doing whatever, I went home the same day. So I was like, there's no incentive for me to work. You're not taking any time off of my sentence, and I'm not getting paid. So what do I want to do that for? I might as well just sleep in and then read my books. And, they said, so you have to be in your room from the time of work hours, which was 8 until 4. So I said, okay. Cool. I'll be in my room from 8 until 4, and then I'll come out later. And
so
I'll
just read the whole day?
So I would just read. And, I got into that habit of reading a lot every day. And then I would go out, talk with the brothers, and we would discuss, and I would go back, And then when I was about 18, they started making me teach classes and putting me in front of people. And then after a while, when I was about 20, I started doing Jummah, Friday prayers.
This is in the prison?
In the prison.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was doing these type of roles, and my type of role, I would get the newer people who didn't know much and the people who came about just taking their shahada, and I would build them up and get them their basics and teach them, usuluddin, furu'uddin, or, basics of religion and our all of these things, the fundamentals, make sure they have their salat good. And I was teaching how to read and write Arabic and these things. So
you
I
became
was doing
heavily
this.
active.
Yeah, in there, I was in that role for a long time.
Right.
So when I came home, I still was doing that. I was going to work and I was reading at home. And then I just fell in love with, doing stuff for Islam. So when I moved to D.C., I was about 25. I came home, I was 25. I think I moved there when I was 26. And I stayed and started going to all the different centers in the area. And then around...
The centers didn't have any problem accepting you? Because I would imagine that coming out of the prison, it's really hard to assimilate in the society. So how did the whole assimilation take?
I don't know. A lot of these centers, unfortunately, they make the place a cultural center, and it's more set up to remind them of somewhere that they left back home, and not about Islam totally. There's Islam there, but it's more so some people take it as a place to go drink chai with their buddies and remember back home. So it really throws them off when someone that doesn't look like them comes in the center, because they're like, hey, we didn't have any white guys or any black guys or any Hispanic guys back in, whatever country they were from. So it throws their mood off. So they kind of sometimes, unfortunately, can treat you rude or push you away or not give you salam or whatever. But I was there for
and especially if they find out that you went to jail. I'm sure some people initially kind of backed off. What's going on?
I just came there and would make my salat, and I would try to talk with people. But a lot of times, I got close to the scholars that were in it, because they would obviously treat a person nice and accept them. So I would deal with a lot of the scholars. One of the first scholars I met was Sheikh Abdul Jalil. He's a very good scholar from Ghana.
Yeah.
Very humble, pious. Everyone knows him.
Oh yeah,
loves
he's
him.
an amazing sheikh.
So I learned how to make salat by reading Risala. I learned how to fast by reading a Risala. So it's not easy learning from a Risala. Most time people teach you how to pray, but we're learning the rules and ahkam and trying to implement them. So we're doing these things all these years in the prison. We're wondering if we're doing them right or not. We're hoping we're doing them right. So I met him and I had a lot of questions for him too. And alhamdulillah, we were doing the right things while we were back there. And I stayed around him and he would teach classes every week and I would go to the classes. And then for some reason, he ended up stopping those classes due to participation. I came all the time, but unfortunately, a lot of people, they take things for granted. And I was like, Sheikh, I wish I had someone like you around me all these years. And there's so many other people in states that don't have any alam, and they wish they had a center they could go pray in. But here we are, we have a center. People can come pray in the center. People can come access a scholar, but they take it for granted and they don't care about it. Some of the guys I left in prison, they said our only wish is that I could pray in a masjid. That's my only wish, is just pray one salah in a masjid, but I'll never be able to do it because I have a life sentence. Maybe you can go and do it and then tell me about it. That's what the brothers would tell me. Maybe you can tell me how it feels. So whenever I go to a ziyarah and all these things, I always send them pictures and tell them about the experience. And, it really uplifts
speaking
them.
of ziyarah, you have to tell us your trip to Karbala and Najaf, because you told me this before and it was just amazing.
I'll tell you. So after Sheikh Jalil stopped doing the class, I went and found another sheikh in the area who was giving English classes. I would go to whatever English class. So this sheikh was teaching English classes on the other side in Virginia. And then his family lived in Karbala and Najaf, and they went on ziyarah, and I wanted to go. I begged him, please take me. I bugged him the whole year, and then we all went there. So I'm walking on this Arba'een trip, not knowing anything about all of this. And
First
I'm like,
foreign trip?
Yeah, totally
ever.
amazed. And I'm walking, and I'm seeing everyone give everything they have. So I'm like, subhanAllah, everyone's giving everything. And they're telling them, come in my house. I don't know you. Just come in my house. We'll wash your clothes. We'll feed you. We'll give you a place to sleep. I'm like, man, in America, someone comes around your door, you close the blinds and you peek out of them. And you're like, who's that? Don't knock on my door, and we don't know our neighbors' names, or we're not friendly with people. And I was like, these people don't even know anyone and they're welcoming them in. And on the walk, they're giving everything, whatever they save all year just to give away. I was mind blown. I was like, how come the media paints them in such a bad image and bad light? If everyone were just to know about Arba'een and the generosity, they would love, the people who host the Zawar, the pilgrims. So I started thinking, what can I do? What do I have? I don't have any money. I don't have any logistics. I can't do all this stuff they're doing, but maybe I have something what can I give back? So I said, I know, I read a lot. I was well read. So I said, I know where all these tragedies happened about Ahlul Bayt and their followers. And I said, the stories are not all in one book. They're scattered. If you want to read about a personality, one part might be in one book, the beginning of the story, middle part might be in another book, the ending. But I knew easily where to just go and flip and find it and show. So I said, I'm going to make a book and dedicate it, I dedicated that book to Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. And I said, I'm going to put all the tragedies of what happened to Ahlul Bayt and some of their followers and arrange it and source them and make this book. And I'm going to give this book back. This is the only thing I had was some knowledge. So I made the intention and I did that. It was my first book. Suffering of Ahlul Bayt and their Shia.
What was it called again?
Suffering of Ahlul Bayt and their Shia throughout history.
Okay.
So I did this, and I started keep attending these classes with the sheikh. And I pushed him, I said, Sheikh, you're teaching me these past couple of years, but we're working towards non-curriculum credit, extracurricular credits or whatever, but not for the core credits, if we were compared to university. And I said, why don't we work towards going for Hausa? I want to study, I want to learn and these things. And he thought maybe I was just talking. So he's like, okay. I asked him again, I'm very persistent. I kept asking him. And he was like, you know what? Istikhara came good. I'm going to teach you. So I started learning with him. And he made it very difficult for me to see if I was dedicated. He said, we're going to do after Salat in the morning. Salat's 5 a.m. at that time. And I lived in Maryland and he lived in Virginia, which is easily an hour commute without traffic. So I need to be there at 5. I need to leave my house at 4, which means I need to get up at like 3:30 or something, get ready, and drive over there for Hausa. So I did it. I called the sheikh. I'm here.
Don't tell me you ended up waking him up.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm here. He lives 10 minutes away. So I was like, Sheikh, I'm here. He's like, okay, really? I was like, yeah, I'm here. I said, okay, I'll be there in 10 minutes. So that goes by. A couple of weeks go by, and he said, oh, we could change the time to 9:30. He wanted to make sure I was dedicated. And, another sheikh moved to that region, started teaching me, and then another sheikh. And then I started taking class 5 days a week, like 3 hours, like 3 classes a day. So they took the same curriculum as Najaf or Qum, and I studied that, but I studied it here with multiple scholars. Each one would take like a course. So it would take a book, and we would start from beginning and finish the end of the book and keep moving. And alhamdulillah, now it's been 7 years, and
MashaAllah,
I got to go back and forth to Najaf and Karbala several times.
That's amazing. That's a really fascinating story. And I also want to talk about your activities right now, because besides writing books, you're also very active in the prison community, trying to give back to them. I want to know some of your activities, and in particular, I want to know how we can get involved in these activities. I know that like a lot of us can't directly get involved by going to the prisons, but the least we can do is help you out. And I'm kind of curious to know what the average, Muhammad, average Jawad, whatever, can do to help out.
Okay. Yeah, so Allah tells you in Quran, a group of you go study and then come back and help your people, paraphrasing, to come back and guide your people. So when I thought about it, a lot of these people, they go off and they study, and then they come back and, they help their group, whoever they left, the town they left or whatever. So I was like, where did I leave? I left these people and these communities in prison, and they need a lot of help, and they need a lot of guidance. A lot of time they write places, they don't get response, or its response takes 2-3 months. They're on their own trying to figure things out. They really need the tools that, we have out here, and someone to guide them, like take their hand, help their studies. And I had been on the inside, and now I'm on the outside, so I could see both ways. So I said, I went and studied, and I'm studying still, and I can come, and these are my people that I can come and help. So I said, I want to help them. So we started the project. I was sending some of my friends some things before, sending them prayer rug and books. And then I was with another brother, and we were saying, maybe, that's a really good idea, what you're doing. And I know some people here and there. And then maybe we have some people who had somehow gotten on social media and they were in prison. So maybe we can just like reach out and make it bigger. And I can, reach more people than just the people I know. So we started spreading by like word of mouth, and we started sending these prisoners books, writing them. They would write us and ask us questions. When one person finds out, all the other people are finding out, So now we have a lot of mail, and alhamdulillah.
It's amazing how they're so eager for these books.
Yeah,
it's shocking. It's just like,
if
you go to an average person and say, hey, you want books? They'll be like, yeah, whatever. But these people are like literally thirsty for books.
They will tell you that, we're depending on you. Like, we need guidance. And if you don't give it to us, we're going to be left like alone in the darkness. Like, we're not going to have any books. No one will send us. I don't have any money. I don't have any family. No one's helping us. We don't have access to that stuff. Only if someone sends it. So I feel obligated that I have to help them. So I'm sending them lots of books, and they're writing us, asking us questions. And we need to help them. There are Muslim brothers and sisters too, but they're forgotten because out of sight, out of mind. But a lot of them are very sincere, and some of them are coming home, some of them are never coming home. But they still need to learn what they need to do, and they get inspiration. They find solace in the knowing about the tragedy of Karbala, for example. They see that the Imam suffered and how he suffered, and then they're also suffering as well, and they see that other people who they're following, they have been through trials and tribulations, and how did they handle it? If they lose a loved one, how do they handle it? And they look at how Ahlul Bayt would handle it. But if they don't know about Ahlul Bayt, then they won't know how to handle all these situations.
Right. So I think what you're basically saying is, correct me if I'm wrong, that the two things that are important for the prisoners is A, they need books, and then B, they need a sense of belonging community, right?
Yeah. So it makes their day. Like every day they're calling out mail, and people, maybe they had their wife or their kids or their mother or father, and they're writing them and sending them mail. And for example, where I was at, the correctional officer would stand, his mail call, everyone would come and hope they had something. Now, a lot of times the guy doesn't get anything, but he still goes, maybe someone remembered me and my friend maybe wrote me, but then they get turned away with no mail and they feel sad. No one cares about me. No one's thinking about me. When they get something from, when we're sending from Second Chance Books, writing them, and even if we haven't heard from them in a while, we'll write them and say, oh, brother, how are you? Are you doing okay? We're wondering. We haven't heard from you in a while, and check on you and this. And that means the world to them, because they said someone out here remembered me and cared about me, and another Muslim is praying for me out here. I tell them, I write them, send them, I came from Ziyarat, and I was in Imam Hussein's shrine, alayhi salam, and I prayed for you in the shrine, even though they're in there. How that makes them feel, that they're belonging to a greater community and they're not like forgotten or cast aside or something like this. So
right. So it's for the viewers that are listening to this, I believe your organization is called Second Chance Books.
Yeah.
So we can leave all these things in the description box, but they can go to secondchancebooks.org, and they can support this cause.
Yeah. So I was talking with a friend of mine when I had these ideas, and I had a good friend of mine in London. And he was doing a lot of other projects at the time. He was really inspired, and he had a lot going on, and he was working dedicated, mashallah, and he knew how to build websites and do other things. So he was saying, I was discussing with him, I said, I really want to do this, and maybe it's time I get a website and, register as a nonprofit. I'm throwing all these things out there. And he said, Matine, if you want to do it, just make your intention, write down what you need, and give it to me by the end. Write it like a proposal, what you want to do. Let me know that you're serious about this. Show it to me by the end of the day, and I'll do everything for you. I'll give you the money to start. I'll build your website for you. I'll do everything. And alhamdulillah, I did that, and he helped me. He built my website and helped me a lot in the beginning. And he got graduated university, got a job, and got busy, but he's always supported me. And, we Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa told Imam Ali alayhi salam, if you guide one person to the path of Islam, it's better than anything that the sun shined upon. So it's better than anything else. If you're guiding people, helping people be better human beings, helping people know their purpose in their life is to worship Allah and do the right thing and follow Ahlul Bayt, and you're showing them, giving them guidance, this is better than anything else. So it's more rewarding. You look at a lot of these people working those big jobs, for example, and they feel empty inside and they want to do something with a purpose. You see these people like traveling and leaving their job and going somewhere to do something like helping homeless or helping people in another country that are struggling, and they give everything up because they're looking for something fulfilling. It's fulfilling their, they're serving their creator, for example.
What are some of the things that we can do to feel that fulfillment? Because a lot of people feel this, right? So one way is helping different causes. What are some of the ways that you think are?
One thing was told to me a long time ago was that, you have to find what you're good at. Like one of these alims was telling me, you have to know what you're good at. Look at yourself and evaluate yourself. What can you do? What are you good at? What are your skills? And then see how you can use your skills to help other people. And that is for the cause of Ahlul Bayt. You dedicate those rewards and you're serving the path of Ahlul Bayt. If you're a doctor, for example, you can go help and dedicate some of your time free to help other people. If you're good at drawing, for example, you can draw nice portraits and things about Karbala or these things that move people to tears. If you're good at speaking, you can go do speeches. If you're good at, whatever you're good at, you should go and pursue that and use it to help other people. And also, if we feel like we don't have the time, a lot of us say, oh, I'm busy, I don't have time, I'm working, I have family, I'm doing this, but I have some money. You could always find a good charity and dedicate some money or sign up monthly or something. That way you're still helping a cause, even if you're not working in it, directly, but you're supporting it. And, Allah tells people to support the cause of Allah with their self and with their wealth. So if you can't support it with yourself, you can always support other ways. Right. Or even if you don't have any money and you can't do it yourself, you could always share those things. For example, they make a website or this podcast or something. Someone's saying, I don't have any money and I don't have any ability. I don't think I can't figure it out. But maybe you sharing like this video, for example, a lot of other people will see it, and those people maybe have the means to help, and you shared it to them, and you get thawab, reward for sharing that type of thing.
There's like no excuse for people to not be active in some way, right?
Yeah, I mean we make excuses for ourselves, but we have to find the way to do it. If we want to be successful, we should try to work towards whatever cause we can in our capability.
Yeah, it's just fascinating how like we have so many people in the community that many of them are mashallah very well off. They have everything this dunya, but they just don't seem to be happy. They don't feel that happiness. But you have someone that like yourself, where you didn't have all these worldly luxuries that other people enjoy, but you're much better off as far as happiness is concerned than some of these people, and it's just really fascinating to think about.
Yeah, I remember a long time ago I had a roommate for a little while. It didn't last too long. He was a Muslim by name, but didn't really practice, and I was trying to get myself established in DC area. So the guy, I would be reading my Quran and reading books, books about Ahlul Bayt and Hadith and stuff. And he would come in and say, oh, why are you reading that? You could be doing, reading a book about college or university and go get a good job or something. And I was like, why would you discourage me from reading Quran? Or when I would make salat, I would encourage him to pray, but he wouldn't pray with me. He was just care about money and dunya and all these things. So those things clash. And it's just, these things make you feel better. They ground you and they know, and they give you purpose and they show you the direction that you need to go in life. Reading a book about, for example, some university book is not fulfilling me. Even if I were to read that, there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to go get a degree in college and university and stuff. But the way the guy was painting it was to totally neglect, the other things. Like you don't need Quran. You don't need these type of things. So we have to balance our lives,
Absolutely. Well, Sheikh, I really appreciate you having here. It's just such a fascinating story. You truly inspired me. We had this discussion before, and it just never gets old. And I'll probably be watching this podcast like a couple of times because it's one of the most inspiring and amazing stories I've ever heard, truly. And also once again for the people that are watching this or listening to this, they can help out the brothers and sisters in the prisons in the U.S. by supporting Sheikh's cause by going to secondchancebooks.org. Again, I'll leave the more information.
If we have a moment, I could give a short story.
Sure.
I told you when the first books I read was Then I Was Guided.
Yes.
So second book I read was Abu Dhar, a companion of Prophet. So I really loved his story. So this will put it in perspective. Some people say, well, why do I need to help a prisoner? Who cares about this person? They threw their life away. Why should I help them? Blah, 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 and all this other stuff. Someone may come with that. I want to take a look at this personality. It's Abu Dhar. Just quick 5 minutes.
Please.
Okay. Abu Dhar was a highway robber. His whole tribe, they would rob people. They were like bandits or gangsters or whatever you want to call them. So Abu Dhar was the head of them. He went and searched and heard that there was a prophet. So he went to Mecca and he ended up finding Imam Ali alayhi salam. Imam Ali took him to Prophet. Prophet taught him about Islam. He was very passionate about Islam, accepted Islam, and he started going out and preaching to everybody outside, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, shouting it. The pagans, idol worshippers started beating him. So Abbas, the uncle of Prophet, came and stopped him. It's like, you know who this is? Your trade caravan has to go through there, and they're going to rob you or kill you when you go through there. So then eventually he got up, bruised and beaten. He did it again. He called out, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Finally, he got the Prophet. Prophet said, you know, you don't have to do this. Go back to your people and teach them about what I told you. So Abu Dhar left, went back to his tribe. He converted his whole tribe to Islam. All of them became Muslims. He followed the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt and learned from them. Was a very close companion with Imam Ali alayhi salam as well. And Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, he was close with them. And he took from them and actually implemented it. The Prophet said, if you want to see the taqwa of Isa, look at Abu Dhar. So the piety of a prophet, look at Abu Dhar. So he went from being a highway robber, a gangster, doing all sort of things, this type of lifestyle, to have the level of piety of a prophet.
Right. To be one of the most
the way he did it, the way he did it was following the teachings of Prophet and the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. So it's possible for someone to do that with the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, but they have to get those teachings. And a lot of these places, these inmates or prisoners they're from, we don't want to go there. The police don't want to go there. We can't go there. We didn't grow up there. We don't know the people there. They're gangs. And some of these guys were big time. They were big time drug dealers, big time gang leaders, all of these things. So when we give them and teach them about Islam and send them these books, and they spend their time reading these books, and maybe they become a very good mu'min, a good believer from reading these books, they go home to their neighborhoods where we don't want to go, the worst part of the section of town, maybe they're from there. They teach their cousins, they teach their friends, they teach their family about Islam, like Abu Dhar did. And let's say that whole section of town, which was the worst section, they all embraced Islam, and now instead of destroying the neighborhood and dealing drugs, now they're planting gardens, now they're helping homeless people, now they're doing all sorts of things. It can change a whole side of town that is really bad and to be really good. And it's very simple by helping them, by giving them the tools they need. So this is one of the good benefits. It's just we're giving them the tools and we're helping them. And the rest is on them to implement it, and we encourage them. So this is what it's about. We're just trying to help people be successful, find their way, and be able to help other people as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up, do you have any closing talk, something that you want to close with, something you want to tell the viewers?
I think we covered pretty much all of it. I don't want to take everyone's time and be, too long. I don't know if you have any other questions.
What is one thing that one small piece of advice that you have for all of us?
A lot of us, we think about doing tabligh or like helping other people, but we think about someone has to go to Hawza or learn all of this and do that. But it's not that. It's having good akhlaq with other people. Akhlaq, it was described to me one time. I met one of the big ulama. He told me it was like an apple. Mm-hmm. When we see the apple, we if it's a beautiful apple on the outside, we get attracted to it, and it looks good, it tastes good. We think it just looks like delicious. So we want to reach for it and take it and bite it. And then we see what's on the inside, it's the fruit. But if we see a rotten apple, no one wants to take from that. the food is rotten, we'll be repulsed, and we're like, I'm just no way. I don't even want to see what's on the inside of that fruit. So the thing is before, people don't know what's in your mind, and they don't know what's in your person. They don't know what's inside. You haven't told them anything yet. But if they see a good personality from you, they see good behavior, they see good manners, this attracts people to you. And then once they're attracted by having such good manners and good akhlaq, by following Ahlul Bayt, then we're able to discuss with them and talk with them, and then they will open up and they'll say, this person is very nice, very friendly. They're more friendly than anyone else I know. And now I'm listening to, they want to have discussion with you, and then it opens up the door. So the key to giving da'wah is having good akhlaq. Good akhlaq can change people's perception. If someone's in the media talking bad about Islam and bad about Muslims, and they hate everyone, and all this type of rhetoric, someone who knows you, for example, they'll say, okay, I don't think that's the truth, because I work with another guy. He's a Muslim and he prays and he's a good, he's a Muslim. Right. He's really kind to me. We go out and have coffee, and sometimes we have lunch together and we chat. And I know this guy, he's not like that. So I think I know some good Muslims, and this stuff is not true about all of the Muslims. So I think it's good that we interact with people, we get out of our bubble, we're nice to everyone, and we just have good akhlaq and be good human beings, This is the thing. This is the way of doing da'wah.
Excellent.